He spent much of his professional career in an international policy, as an international policy advisor for the Government of Canada, with a focus on promoting good governance and contribution to sustainable development of the mining sector in developing countries. He has represented Canada in a number of international organizations and events. For 25 years, he has also been a volunteer at SOPAR, S-O-P-A-R, an international development non-government organization based in Gatineau. SOPAR has been working in community development in the rural regions of the states of Andhra Pradesh for 37 years. Over the years, SOPAR's Indian sister organization has become one of the leading community development NGO in India. Bala Vikasa. It's the only NGO to have an international training center in community development. NGOs from 36 countries have now come to training. Andre has held a number of positions with SOPAR, including president and director. Now, I met Andre thanks to Jean and Fatima, who are in admiration in what he's doing, and already had him as guest speaker to the S de Montréal Club. And I thought what he told us was so important and so enlightening, I absolutely wanted him to come and deliver his message here. Jean Gagnon has also asked Sandra Lucchesi to come and film the presentation. So please welcome André Bourassa.
Thank you, Bertrand. Thank you very much for the invitation. I feel kind of privileged to be here this morning and learning that your club is 100 years old, so it's a bit ahead of me, but we're all getting there at some point. For your information, this week is International Development Week. So I thought I'm just not going to come and say, okay, we do a bit of this, a bit of that. I would like to do a bit of a reflection on international development. Well, I've done it most of my life anyway. My job as an advisor is to ask questions. Hopefully I can find answers sometime to those questions. So this is how I see the presentation today. SOPAR is based in Gatineau. SOPAR is the acronym for Société de Partage. We work in India in the state of Andhra Pradesh in the south, which you probably, do you know South Asia?
That's my province.
That's your province. Okay, we're based in Warangal.
Warangal?
Yeah.
I'm from Hyderabad.
Oh, the capital, yes. Of the split state now? Possibly, yes. Okay. Numbers. I want to go very quickly to that because I'm going to say some things about development and I want to have those numbers to say, look, this is based, what I'm going to say is based on extensive development, extensive work. We have over there Bala Vikasa, our sister organization, 350 full-time employees, and we have 50 partner NGOs. We are active every year in about 3,500 villages. We have been involved in about 6,000 water wells, giving drinking water to 1.1 million people, 500 water towers, fluoride filtration plants. There's lots of fluoride in the ground and it can be a health problem. We use a fairly complex process, reverse osmosis. It works, the people can do it. It's how you introduce those things. Rainwater reservoir, we're replenishing a system. We were the first one in the state. The Maharaja used to do that. And then the big technology started with dams and everything, but there were lots of problems. Canal get filled with silt. There's no arrangement to clean them up anyway. The farmers told us, hey, in the olden days, well, it works. And now the state has become very, very big. For us to replenish, to restart, clean up one of those old reservoirs, which you can see from maps, not from the ground, from satellite maps, cost us about $3,000. To the government, it's about $125. We have developed in India what is the largest women development network in rural areas. It's 200,000 women. And based on that experience, we started it with the youth now. So it's still the beginning for the youth. We have 5,000. We have farming projects and more. So we are involved in many things. But after having saying all that, I say, yeah, but SOPAR is not a project NGO. What are we? Well, for us, SOPAR, we are about sustainable community development. Now, obviously, if you do charity, you can say, okay, I'll give you a meal for today, but you'll have to find another one tomorrow. Development is about sustainability. If you have to restart doing the same thing for over and over again, it's nice, but it's not development. But where does sustainability come from? Well, anything, the computer here, whatever, at some point it's going to break down. So in the material, you do not have sustainability. So the questions of what creates sustainability has spurred the evolution of the development paradigm over the last 50 years. Development is really, international development is something that started really in the 1950s. And in the 1950s, it was what I call the real charitable bias. You know, we're going to do development to the people. Then they saw some limitations. We said, well, for the people. See, we're going to focus more on what they need, not maybe what we want to do. It didn't work that great. So we're going to make it through the people. And then in the 90s, if you look in the big international discussion, we have to do it with the people. But again, the results were not satisfactory to those who think about it. And now it's empower the people to do their own development. And we really go into that stream. Now, community development in the South, which means the developed versus developing world, has long focused on service delivery, using a needs-based approach or problem-solving approach. But the focus on needs and deficiencies can make people lose sight of what they already have accomplished and what they have the capacity to do. Now, it's a bit of an intellectual discussion. I'll put 2 or 3 slides to tell you on the field, what does that mean? What can it do? In the 2,000 villages of our women network, there's about 1,600 orphans. You know, lots of NGOs have programs to help the orphans or the youth or whatever. Well, there's about 1,600 in the villages, but we don't take care of them. It's the women. The women organization do it. But not only do they take care of it, think, those are women farm laborers making about $1 a day. Okay, they work hard for that, and they can't work all season. At the end of especially April, May, there's no work. So it's really difficult. They pay for that. They really pay for that from their own money. We have started with them again a care program for the poor elderly. Over there, the social services is, you know, in rural India, not very strong. So the kids do that for the families. Well, if you don't have any kids, who does it? You're in trouble. So the women start that. Again, they pay for much of it themselves. You're talking microcredit. We have had over 150,000 loans for the business, for little businesses, for the women. And you mentioned a very important thing. Microcredit is not just about money. Money can be a trap if it's not well used. Normally, when we start with a woman group, it's a couple of years before one rupee goes out. They have to know how to manage money. In India, the widows, the fate of the widows, it's a bit of a special place. Up to about 300 years ago, when a woman loses her husband, they burn her when they burn the body of the husband. Anyway, if he died, it's her fault, so she should be burned. It's kind of a curse that they see like that. They don't do that anymore, but the widows still are absolutely excluded. We stop that, and with our women network, we have a critical mass to change things. We have had about 6 marriages. The mentality is changing. In the cities, it is changing, but we don't work in the cities. The rural areas are always a few generations behind changes in the city. So those poor women have become donors, and now they're becoming elected as community leaders. Why? We don't push anything. But because they came in organization, together they could realize things in the village. And when come election time, well, you know, maybe a woman, but she makes things happen. People vote for them. It's not any more complicated than that. I talk about the orphans. This is the yearly celebration. There's many smaller activities. Once a year, Oops. No. Once a year we have the big celebration. You'll see in the front, those are the orphans. By the way, it's very colorful, but that's the way they dress over there. It's really quite something. For a group like this, there'll be about 20, 25 orphans. And about the regroupment, there will be about 800 women in this one. This is the birthday. Many of them, they don't know when they were born, so it's the birthday. The kids go to school, they do a bit of singing. It's a big celebration, this big cake for everyone. And on that day, this is when the women commit the minimum. Some give 3, 4, 5 days salary for the kids. This is what it's done. They do it themselves. Primary school in the villages, yes. After that, no. Secondary, they have to go out to bigger towns. Well, they visit them every month. They do it themselves. Are you okay? Do you need something? Is your health? Do you need a book or whatever? We're starting to help a little bit financially because now we have quite a few dozen of those orphans at university, and that's becoming a bit pricey. But as long as it was at the beginning, the women could do it themselves. Ganga Devi Palli. Just about 4 years ago, the government of India named one of our villages, Ganga Devi Palli, which I don't know if you know this one, it's just outside of Warangal, as a model village for India. It's a model because it has taken charge of its own development. The government made a film about it, not us, about Ganga Devi Palli. You can find it on YouTube. When I visited Ganga Devi Palli last in 2011, it had 23 active project committees. We, SOPAR money, were not involved in any of them. This is their project. Okay, they have reached a level of maturity. And we started with them with a water project. Water is a great thing to start with because you know that once you do a project, it's not finished. They need the water forever. And if you want really to do a strong anchor for development, you have to do an institution. So we tried to make the water committee a development institution for the village. So what they do in the villages, they will hike a little bit the price of water, which generates income, and then they fund other projects, they elect committees or whatever. So it's been institutionalized. But how do we get there? I say it was about 10 to 15 years of work. And that was a good one. 15 is really a target. It's almost a generational change. It takes a while. The big change is between the years. This is where it is. When they were named a model village, it was a big news. Visitors start to come from, excuse me, I'm going to take a bit of water.